If keto feels perfect on paper, but your progress is stuck, the issue is often hiding in your healthiest foods. The sneaky part is that these foods are not junk. They're just easy to overdo. Nuts, cheese, and keto treats can quietly push calories up, cravings up, and ketones down. And because they're low carb, you assume they're harmless. A better question is, are they helping your appetite and energy, or keeping you in snack mode? The warning signs are usually subtle at first. You feel hungry soon after eating. Your weight or measurements don't change for weeks. Your digestion feels off, or your sleep gets lighter and more broken. In the next few minutes, you'll learn the most common signals that healthy keto foods are stalling you, and simple ways to test what's actually happening, without making keto complicated. Moving to slide 2. First warning sign: your calories are creeping up without you noticing. Keto foods are often energy-dense, meaning small amounts carry a lot of calories. Nuts are the classic example. A handful can be 2 or 3 servings, and it barely registers as a meal. Cheese is similar. A few slices while cooking can become a full snack. Keto treats are the easiest to underestimate because they feel like a controlled portion, but many are built from nut flours, butter, cream, and sweeteners, so they add up fast. If fat loss is your goal, calories still matter, even on keto. Not in a moral way, just in a physics way. A practical test is to measure your most common snack foods for 3 days. Not forever, just long enough to see what your normal really is. Moving to slide 3. Second warning sign: you're eating keto snacks more often than real meals. Many people start keto with solid meals, then slowly drift into grazing. A few nuts between calls, a cheese stick in the afternoon, a keto bar after dinner. The problem is not the food itself, it's the pattern. Frequent snacking can keep insulin slightly elevated, keep hunger cues noisy, and make it harder to tap into stored body fat. It also makes it difficult to notice true hunger versus habit. A simple check is to ask, can I comfortably go 4 or 5 hours after a meal without thinking about food? If the answer is no, your snack foods may be training your brain to expect constant hits of flavor and fat. Try consolidating food into 2 or 3 satisfying meals for a week and see if cravings and progress change. Moving to slide 4. Third warning sign: your cravings are getting stronger, not weaker. One of the benefits people expect on keto is calmer appetite. If you're doing everything right, but still obsessing about treats, look closely at keto desserts and sweeteners. Even when carbs are low, sweet taste can keep the reward loop active. For some people, it increases cravings and makes it harder to stop at one. Another issue is hyperpalatable combos, sweet plus fat plus salt. That's basically engineered to override fullness signals. Nuts can do this too, especially roasted and salted varieties. So can cheese paired with something sweet. A useful experiment is a 7-day no-sweet taste reset. That means no keto candy, no sweet drinks, and no sweetened yogurt. You're not proving willpower. You're checking whether sweetness is keeping your appetite switched on. Moving to slide 5. Fourth warning sign: your digestion gets weird. Keto can change digestion on its own, but certain healthy keto foods are frequent triggers. Nuts and nut flours bring a lot of fiber and plant compounds, which can be tough if your gut is sensitive. Some people do fine with whole nuts, but react to nut flour because it's concentrated. Dairy is another big one. Lactose is low in many cheeses, but not zero, and some people react more to the proteins than the sugar. Then there are sugar alcohols used in keto treats. For some, they cause bloating, gas, or urgent bathroom trips, even if the label looks perfect. The key sign is consistency. If symptoms show up after the same foods, it's not random. Try a clean 2-week swap, whole foods for treats, and either reduce dairy or choose simpler options. Track how you feel, not just macros. Moving to slide 6. Fifth warning sign: your weight is stable, but you feel puffier. This can be water retention, not fat gain, and healthy keto foods can contribute. Salty nuts and aged cheeses are high in sodium. Sodium itself isn't bad, but if your intake swings wildly day to day, your scale and rings can swing too. Some keto treats also include ingredients that pull water into the gut, which can make your midsection feel distended. Dairy can also affect some people through inflammation-like responses, even without obvious digestive symptoms. The practical takeaway is to control variables. Keep sodium more consistent for a week. Choose unsalted nuts. Pick simpler proteins and fats, and see if puffiness drops. If it does, you've learned something important. Your stall might be measurement noise from water shifts, not a true plateau in fat loss. Moving to slide 7. Sixth warning sign. Your ketone readings are inconsistent or lower than expected, even though carbs look fine. This can happen when protein is low and fat is high, but it can also happen from keto-friendly packaged foods. Many products use net carb math that doesn't match your body's response. Some fibers and sugar alcohols still raise glucose for certain people. Some products have more digestible carbs than the label suggests, especially when portions creep up. Nuts also contain carbs that add up fast when you snack, and dairy, especially milk-based products, can carry more carbs than you assume. Instead of guessing, do a controlled test. Remove packaged keto treats for 10 days. Keep meals simple. Meat, eggs, fish, non-starchy vegetables, and added fats as needed. If your readings and hunger stabilize, you've found a likely lever. Moving to slide 8. Seventh warning sign. Your hunger comes back fast after a fat-heavy snack. This surprises people because fat is supposed to be filling, but fat without enough protein can leave you unsatisfied. Nuts and cheese are fatty, but they're not high protein per calorie the way meat, fish, or eggs are. Keto treats are often the worst here. Lots of fat, little protein, and a sweet taste that encourages more. If you eat a keto cookie and feel hungry again in an hour, that's data. Your body may be asking for protein and volume, not more fat. A simple fix is to build meals around a protein anchor first, then add fat for taste and comfort, not as the main event. When protein is adequate, many people naturally snack less, and stalls often loosen without changing carbs at all. Moving to slide 9. Eighth warning sign. Your sleep gets lighter and your stress feels higher. This one is easy to miss because you blame work, screens, or caffeine. But certain keto foods can play a role. Some people are sensitive to histamines, which are higher in aged cheeses and cured products. That can show up as restlessness, racing thoughts, or waking up at night. Another issue is late-night keto treats. Even if carbs are low, eating sweet, rich foods close to bed can keep your brain alert and digestion busy. And if your day is low in calories and protein, you might rebound at night with snacky foods. A helpful approach is to move your last food earlier and simplify it. Choose a straightforward dinner with protein and non-starchy vegetables. Then keep the evening clean for a week and watch what happens to sleep quality. Moving to slide 10. Ninth warning sign. Your keto staples are inflammatory for you, even if they're fine for others. Keto isn't one diet. It's a carb level. The food choices inside that can vary a lot. Some people thrive on dairy. Others feel congested, achy, or sluggish with it. Nuts can be similar. They contain omega-6 fats, and while omega-6 isn't automatically bad, very high intakes can crowd out omega-3s. Nuts also contain compounds like lectins and oxalates, which some people tolerate poorly. The key is personalization without obsession. Pick one suspect category, nuts, dairy, or keto treats, and remove it for 2 weeks. Don't change 10 things at once. Then reintroduce it and watch for changes in cravings, digestion, energy, and weight trend. This is how you turn confusion into a clear answer. Moving to slide 11. 10th warning sign. Your keto treats are replacing nutrient-dense food. This is the trap of making keto feel normal. You can fit cookies, ice cream, and cereal into low-net carbs. But if those foods crowd out meat, eggs, seafood, and vegetables, your micronutrients can slide. When that happens, hunger often increases because your body keeps searching. You might also notice low energy, weaker workouts, or hair and skin changes over time. Again, not because treats are evil, because they're not a great foundation. A strong reset is to make your first meal of the day high in protein and minerals. Think eggs with salt or meat with a simple vegetable. Then decide if you even want a treat later. Many people find that once the base is solid, the desire for keto desserts drops naturally. Moving to slide 12. 11th warning sign. You're keto compliant, but your results depend on constant tracking. If keto only works when you micromanage, something in your food environment is pushing you to overeat. Nuts, cheese, and treats are easy to eat fast and hard to portion intuitively. They don't create the same natural stop signal as a plate of protein and vegetables. This isn't a character flaw. It's food design and calorie density. A practical strategy is to change the default. Buy nuts in small single portions, or don't keep them within reach. Use cheese as an ingredient, not a standalone snack. And keep keto treats as an occasional planned item, not a daily habit. The goal is a way of eating that feels calm. When your environment supports you, you need less willpower, less tracking, and you get more consistent progress. Moving to slide 13, 12th warning sign. Your healthy keto choices are too calorie dense for your current goal. This matters if you're smaller, less active, or already fairly lean. In that situation, even a small daily surplus can erase a week of progress. Nuts and cheese are the easiest way to overshoot because they're compact. You can eat hundreds of calories and still feel like you barely ate. If fat loss is the priority, consider shifting your fat sources toward meals, not snacks. Use olive oil, butter, or avocado to make meals satisfying, but keep the add-ons measured. And choose higher volume keto foods more often, like non-starchy vegetables and leaner proteins with added fat. The point isn't to fear fat, it's to match energy intake to your body. Keto works best when it reduces hunger, not when it turns into constant calorie-dense nibbling. Moving to slide 14. Here's how to troubleshoot without spiraling into perfectionism. Pick one category to test first: nuts, dairy, or keto treats. Remove it for 14 days. Keep everything else steady. Then reintroduce it in a measured portion and watch your hunger, cravings, digestion, sleep, and weight trend for 3 days. That's a clean experiment. If nuts are the issue, switch to whole food fats like olive oil and avocado, and keep nuts as an occasional garnish. If dairy is the issue, try limiting to butter or ghee, or choose smaller amounts of hard cheese. If keto treats are the issue, replace them with a real dessert that's not sweet, like berries in a controlled portion, or simply end meals with tea. If you want one rule that works for most people, it's this: prioritize protein, keep meals simple, and make treats rare enough that they stay special. If this was helpful, subscribe for more practical nutrition breakdowns, and comment with your biggest stall suspect: A. Nuts, B. Dairy, or C. Keto treats. This information is not a substitute for medical advice. Stable blood sugar changes everything.